Hey there, and welcome to the McDuffie County Charrette Final Presentation. If you tuned in to our first presentation at the halfway point of the charrette, welcome back, and thank you for your feedback. It was extremely beneficial in tailoring our final design ideas. If this is your first time hearing from us, welcome. We're glad you've joined us, and we're looking forward to your feedback at the end of the presentation. Before we begin, here is a quick overview of the project. The McDuffie County Archway Partnership is interested in developing a trail system in conjunction with Georgia's Little River Water Trail. The Center for Community Design and Preservation at the University of Georgia's College of Environment and Design led a virtual multi-day design workshop, or charrette, to envision a trail system and recreational enhancements. Due to COVID-19, we conducted this charrette virtually with several meetings and workdays. The goal of this charrette is to explore outdoor recreation opportunities in McDuffie County and around Clarks Hill Lake, including enhanced boat launches along the Little River Water Trail, concepts for hiking, biking, and equestrian trails, and improvements to Big Heart and Raysville campgrounds. After an initial input session with local stakeholders via Zoom, our landscape architecture, historic preservation, and urban planning students spent the day researching and developing a few ideas and concepts, which we got your feedback on. Based on your feedback, we revisited our initial ideas and refined them into finalized concepts. Here's a quick recap of the work collected after day 1 of the design charrette. Our charrette concentrated on the Little River Water Trail between Access Point 1 at Highway 80 and Access Point 2 at Highway 78, as well as the McDuffie County campgrounds at Big Heart and Raysville. The project site for the charrette is within the Clarks Hill Lake Wildlife Management Area, or WMA. Many of our design suggestions will be incorporated into the existing wildlife management area, as well as the county-owned segments. As the wildlife management area prioritizes hunting and fishing and is open to hunting most of the year, it is important to remember that many regulations and safety precautions will be needed to implement many of the design suggestions from today. While most of our students were familiar with hiking trails, we needed to research trail system best practices for paddlers, cyclists, and equestrian enthusiasts. We presented concepts for incorporating these types of trails within the Clarks Hill Lake area, then used your responses to our survey to generate the finalized designs presented today. We received a lot of helpful feedback, and will show you where your suggestions influenced our new designs. Our presentation begins along the Little River Water Trail. The existing Little River Water Trail is a great asset for McDuffie County and the entire region. The trail is over 20 miles long and winds through the Clarks Hill Lake Wildlife Management Area into Clarks Hill Lake. The water trail has 4 access points in total, and all but access point 3 are in McDuffie County. Currently, access point 1 at Highway 80 does not yet have any amenities other than the stunning quiet view of the river, but a boat launch is desired. Access Point 2 at Highway 78 includes a gravel parking lot, a motorboat launch, and a water trail kiosk. Access Point 3 is in Holiday Park in Wilkes County, and Access Point 4 is in the Raysville campground on the open water of the lake. It includes a parking lot, motorboat launch, and a fishing dock or pier. Our initial design suggestions focused on improving the user experience along the Little River Water Trail. For Access Point 1, we proposed a parking lot, motorboat launch, a separate kayak or canoe launch, and restrooms. There is also potential for a small outfitters at this location to rent boats and provide a shuttle service. For Access Point 2, we proposed expanding the parking area and adding space for paddlers to self-shuttle a second car and return to Access Point 1 to float downriver. Access Point 2 was suggested as an alternative location for an outfitters. Additional ideas to enhance the water trail included adding emergency access along the utility corridor and providing picnic spots midway along the trail. Some of the feedback we heard from the survey included positive support for a launch at Highway 80 to complete the water trail and accommodate self-shuttling. Restrooms are definitely needed at both locations. Having a pull-off area to stretch your legs, have a picnic, and provide emergency access is very appealing, and outfitters would help promote the water trail and make it more usable. However, the Highway 80 location and the first section of the Little River is peaceful and scenic, and there are some concerns that locating an outfitters here would over-commercialize the natural beauty of the area. Based on the overwhelming positive feedback, our new plan expands upon our original ideas. New amenities such as cars and boat trailer parking, kayak or canoe launches, emergency access points, and restrooms are included. We removed a section we had originally suggested for swimming due to a community member explaining that the area is unsuitable for this type of recreation. Many respondents to the survey expressed interest in a hiking trail along the Little River Water Trail between access points 1 and 2. The distance between the two locations measures approximately 10 miles. If both boat launches were developed with parking and restrooms, a trail would easily accommodate hikers originating at either location, providing a 20-mile out and back loop. A connecting trail would also provide easy access for picnic spots that could be used by hikers and paddlers. Building off an initial plan produced by the UGA engineering students for Access Point 1, our students created an alternative parking lot design that retains existing trees and accommodates paddlers. The new parking lot plan features 19 boat trailer parking spaces, 11 regular parking spaces, and 1 handicap space. There is a separate drive to drop off your kayaks as close to the launch as possible. There is also a traditional motorboat launch, restrooms, a pavilion, and picnic tables. The kayak launch at Access Point 1 is designed as a natural dirt path with wide, deep steps down to the water. If the distance from the drop-off zone to the water's edge seems extremely long, a double handrail can serve as a boat slide to assist users in getting their kayaks to the water. Based on your feedback, we have kept Access Point minimalistic and natural. Therefore, we chose to keep the restrooms as simple wood structures and not include an outfitters at this location. Access Point 2 is shown as a potential location for the kayak outfitters based on the proximity to the other access points, its location on a main highway, and the availability of additional space. By having the outfitters at this location, it creates a variety in the water trail lengths for users and allows the outfitters to be a more central location. The dock at the outfitters includes approximately 5,000 square feet of retail space and a storage shed for additional kayaks. The parking lot includes 11 boat parking spaces, 35 parking spaces, and 4 handicap spaces. There is also restrooms, a pavilion, and picnic tables. Many respondents suggested a need for kayak launches that were handicap accessible. This video shows how handicap accessible kayak launches allow for an adult in a wheelchair to self-launch a kayak. ADA accessible launches can be enjoyed by able-bodied paddlers as well, as the stabilizers and assistive support make it easier to get in and out of a low boat. Access Point 4 on the Little River Water Trail is at Raysville Campground. The same amenities suggested for Access Point 2 have been applied here to enhance the usability for launching kayaks and canoes. The existing dock could be modified to include an ADA accessible kayak launch. A redesigned parking area features 12 boat trailer spaces, 10 parking spaces, and 2 handicap spaces. Restrooms, a pavilion, and tables are also added. According to the National Park Service's guide on boat launches, the lake's gradually sloping shoreline lends itself to a beach launch as well. This amenity could also be added to the existing day-use beach at Big Heart Campground. By ensuring that each access point along the Little River Water Trail has adequate parking, restrooms, and launches that are designed for those carrying their boats by hand, the usability of the water trail is greatly increased. By adding additional amenities such as picnic spots, emergency access, and an outfitters to rent boats and provide a shuttle service, the trail becomes a recreation destination for even wider audiences. A hiking trail between access points 1 and 2 enhances the destination further. Challenges to create this trail include the topography, which is steep closest to the river. Given the narrowness of the wildlife management area borders in this location, there is not a lot of variety as to where the trail could be located, potentially resulting in steep grades. Also, having a hiking trail alongside the water trail could disrupt a serene area of the river, which is a concern brought up by paddlers who are familiar with the quiet beauty of this section. We welcome any feedback on these ideas. Next, we'll take a look at how biking and hiking trails could be incorporated elsewhere for additional recreation. Biking is a great form of exercise. It gets your heart rate up, it's easy to do as a solo or community activity, and it is an accessible way to enjoy the outdoors. There's underdeveloped acreage in both Raysville and Big Heart campgrounds that could be developed into trails which could be used for biking as well as hiking. Campgrounds offer a great opportunity to ride bikes because they are safe, contained areas without a lot of vehicular traffic. Kids are often seen riding bikes in campgrounds for these reasons. A network of bike trails could use existing roads as well as new paths connecting campgrounds, the day use areas, and take advantage of the shoreline and woody scenery. Our initial concept suggested adding multi-use trails at Big Heart Campground. Since the existing boat ramp, picnic area, and campsites are concentrated at the end of the peninsula along the shoreline, this leaves the rest of the campground acreage available for additional amenities. Due to the fairly level terrain and the nearby availability of more challenging courses, we decided against including mountain bike trails and instead suggested gently sloping packed dirt paths for casual cyclists and hikers to enjoy, thereby accommodating a wider audience. We also suggested a campground office and general store at the entrance to Big Heart Campground. This would establish a clear delineation between the hunting area of the WMA and the campground, as well as offer visitor assistance, camping supplies, and even a gift shop. We also suggested a target shooting or archery range that could be incorporated to provide an inclusive space to promote shooting sports. Some feedback we heard from the survey included overwhelming support for family-friendly trails for casual cyclists and kids rather than hardcore mountain bikers, as there are no regional options, and to provide bikes for those who don't have their own. Campers at both the Raysville and Big Heart campgrounds would benefit from having a staffed office for supplies. Many respondents also commented that promoting shooting sports was a great idea, but the noise from the shooting range would be problematic for campers, bikers, and horses. An archery range would be more quiet, but many noted that 1 or 2 archery ranges in the WMA may be underutilized. Given the affirmation from the survey, the team looked to incorporating trail systems at both campgrounds. The site with the biggest potential for biking and hiking trails is at the Big Heart Campground. By following the natural contour lines and ridge lines of the site, various trails of low intensity were created. The proposed trails for Big Heart Campground include an internal loop and a number of outer loops along the peninsula to connect the day use area, camping areas, and the proposed entrance of the campground. The outer loops were aligned closest to the shoreline for waterfront views. A trail connecting the day use playground and swimming area to the campsites is intended to be the easiest and safest with children biking in mind. A trail between the inner loop and the northern outer loop is the most intense, as its elevation changes the most. The trail also takes advantage of the existing road system to create multiple options and loops. All total, this plan provides a 10-mile multi-use trail system. We further developed the idea and formal entrance to Big Heart Campground. This would not only mark as an arrival to the campground, but also serve as an indicator for where hunting is no longer allowed throughout the open forest. Just past the entrance gate, this plan suggests a campground office and general store located on the right-hand side and an educational center on the left. The campground office includes parking in front as well as a double lane behind the building to accommodate guests checking in that are towing campers. An office and general store is a nice amenity for campground guests, as it provides a place to get local accommodations, replenish forgotten supplies, and purchase souvenirs. The office could also provide bike rentals for campers and day users, with the trails easily accessible from this location. Given the noise disruption that an outdoor shooting range would cause, the students suggested an indoor range instead, perhaps in combination with an educational center. The center could provide classes on many recreational subjects, and the shooting range would be as insulated as possible from excessive noise permeation throughout the campgrounds. Stalls should be limited to a small number to keep the impact minimalized for courtesy's sake. While firearm safety and the promotion of shooting sports could be conducted downstairs, the upstairs could be used as an educational center for certification in subjects such as CPR, bushcraft, tying fish flying lures, and many more. The shooting range may be closed or restricted to certain hours on the days with classes unrelated to firearm training, so the courses may proceed without interruptions. The Raysville Campground is also a viable site for multi-use trails, although with less acreage available. Since the existing campsites shown as green dots are adjacent to the west side of the road along the water, the proposed trails, shown in orange, are located on the opposite side of the road. These trails follow the current road and existing topography, as well as proximity to the existing campsites to create 4 miles of easily accessible paths for walkers and riders. Also, an adjacent section of the WMA, indicated with a dashed green line, may be available in the future to expand the Raysville Campground. If this parcel could be used for trails, it would be an additional 3 miles to the proposed trail network. McDuffie County has the opportunity to improve its already attractive campgrounds by adding amenities that recreational tourists have come to expect, like a general store and a trail system. With these improvements, both campgrounds can serve as regional attractions, providing safe ways for locals and visitors to enjoy cycling with family or friends, while generating minimal impact on the environment. Lastly, let's talk about equestrian trails. The terrain, beauty, and campground accommodations in the Clarks Hill Lake area could appeal to equestrian riders interested in using a trail system for day trips or extended overnight trips. Most horseback riding trails are laid out in loops and linked to other trails, allowing for a variety of excursion lengths. However, horseback riding requires a significantly longer trail system than hiking or biking, generally between 5 and 25 miles. Most equestrian riders can ride a 5-mile trail in about 1 to 2 hours, and riders prefer a trail system with a variety of routes that allow rides of 2 to 3 hours, a half day, and a full day, or more. Therefore, portions of the Clarks Hill Lake Wildlife Management Area beyond the county-managed campgrounds would be needed to accommodate equestrian trails. To accommodate the suggested minimum distance needed for equestrian trails, as well as trailer parking and stable infrastructure for overnight stays, the Charette team proposed a 8.5-mile multi-use trail connecting Big Heart Campground and Raysville Campground through the Wildlife Management Area. The trail would consist of a series of back loops to offer riders multiple length trails with Big Heart Campground suggested for stable and parking accommodations. The survey received enthusiastic responses from local riders interested in having trails in McDuffie County. The feedback indicated that equestrian riders prefer not to share trails with cyclists as the horses can get spooked. Likewise, the noise from a hunting or shooting range would also be problematic. The path initially proposed is too short for horseback riding, as 10 to 20-mile trails are preferred. Horseback riding trails should be a series of loops for variety in length, not out and back trails, where horses would have to pass one another. Trails should not cross highways or waterways, both for safety reasons and the cost of infrastructure upgrades. And while parking should accommodate horse trailers, buddy parking camp areas do not need to have a full stable. Based on our research and your feedback, we determined that the areas around Clarks Hill Lake, between the Big Heart Peninsula and Raysville, continue to be the best option for an equestrian trail within the WMA. However, our latest proposal reflects the suggestion that equestrian trails not cross Highway 78 or any bodies of water that would require significant bridge construction. Since most equestrian trail riders are looking for trails between 10 and 20 miles long, separate from bike trails, with an overnight option, the team suggested locating equestrian trails along the shoreline of the WMA at Big Heart Peninsula and along Big Creek between Highway 78 and the Raysville Campground. These trails are shown here as a yellow dashed line. The proposed trail system will provide a 6-mile equestrian-only system on the Big Heart Peninsula that would be separated from the proposed biking and hiking trails within the campground. On the Raysville side, the proposed equestrian-only trail system would provide a 16-mile trail connecting the Raysville campground and the wildlife management area. Incorporating feedback from local riders, this trail system is looped rather than out and back, and is also separate from bike lanes. If more trails are needed, then consider alternating the days that horseback riding and bikers are allowed to be on the same trail, thus elongating the overall trail system. Respondents from the survey expressed a desire to come from out of town to ride trails if they could camp overnight with their horses. If the 60-acre parcel adjacent to the Raysville campground is annexed in, rather than it being used for hiking and biking trails, it could be designed for an equestrian camping facility. Our plan suggests a central area for grazing and trailer parking, as well as 3 connections to the new proposed equestrian trails. We also suggested 18 new campsites, which would include the standard camp amenities in addition to a horse corral, which could accommodate up to 3 horses. During our charrette workdays, our team researched other wildlife management areas such as Rich Mountain Wildlife Management Area, Cary Wildlife Management Area, and Lake Russell Wildlife Management Area in order to determine some of the practices they utilize to ensure the safety of hikers, cyclists, riders, and hunters. These wildlife management areas do not have any special buffers or physical regulations in the hunting areas, but they have a series of aids and regulations meant for hunters and riders to follow for their safety. This includes, but is not limited to, all riders and hikers in the wildlife management area must wear a minimum of 500 square inches of hunting orange on both the human and the horse, limiting the time pedestrians, cyclists, and horseback riders are able to use the trails within the wildlife management area, such as not before 10 a.m. or after dusk, providing an alternative schedule for cyclists and horseback riders, such as a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule for cyclists only, and a Tuesday, Thursday schedule for horseback riders and hikers only, as well as keeping all pedestrian and equestrian trails within the 200-foot safety buffer from any roads or buildings where hunters are not allowed to fire. Equestrian trails within the wildlife management area are a relatively common practice throughout various states. If equestrian trails are pursued within the Clarks Hill Lake area, incorporating best practices and safety measures from other trails, state parks, and wildlife management areas that attract saddle clubs would accommodate a wider user group and further add to the recreational opportunities in the region. In conclusion, the charrette team has presented several ideas for incorporating new recreational amenities into the Little River Water Trail and the Clarks Hill Lake area. Please visit the link below or scan our QR code to complete a short survey to share your thoughts on our revised concepts. This information will be vital in compiling our final report this summer and assisting McDuffie County in moving forward on establishing trails. It has been our pleasure to work on this project. Thank you to our students, volunteers, our colleagues at the UGA Archway Partnership, and our McDuffie County stakeholders for all their help throughout this process. And most importantly, thank you to the citizens of McDuffie County for all your amazing feedback and commitment to great outdoors. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Goodbye.